So in my research, in my study, this is what it's part of the military training of defining your opponent, of defining the threat you think you're gonna have to fight. This is what I think's happened most often in our country in the last 40 years. It's the only way I know to predict what's most likely to happen in the future. And now look at the very top one. The shooter is usually a young male. Well, if you look back at that slide I just showed you over the last 10 months, half of them are over 30. So yeah, over the last 10 months, that's not fitting the trend. Is that gonna mean there's a new trend coming? I don't know. I don't think we've been in it long enough yet. But if you look back over the last 30 years, most of the shooters are young and male. They plan their attack in a gun-free zone, a place where it's illegal for anybody to have a gun. So when they show up with their illegal gun, they're the only ones that have a gun, and so they're the only ones that can shoot for a number of minutes. This is not a political thing for them. This is a mathematical thing for them. They need to be the only one that can shoot for a number of minutes. That will allow them to get the body count high enough to get them the media coverage and the notoriety. Should be no surprise that active shooters that want high body counts don't start their attacks in a police station, they don't start them at NRA conventions, and they don't start them at gun shows. There's nothing preventing them from starting an attack there. It just won't last long enough. They usually have multiple weapons when they start their attack. 2 to 4 seems to be the norm. One of them is usually a long gun, at least one of them. So they start with a long gun, shoot it till it malfunctions, or it's out of ammo, they'll dump it, go to the second gun if they have it, and continue down the line. They usually have large amounts of ammunition. At least 4 have had over 1,000 rounds. These usually last a relatively short time because eventually somebody will show up to end it. Or in a lot of cases, they just end it themselves. A theory is their adrenaline runs out. And many of them just either stop and leave, stop and give up, or shoot themselves. They don't really have an escape plan, most of them. Now, the mobile attackers sometimes will want to get away to attack a different place, but most of them know when they fire their first round, they're going to end that day in the morgue or in the jail, one of those two places.
Hey, Ed.
Yeah.
Hey, do these guys, do they tend to have training? Do they know how to run their weaponry? And do they tend to have reliable weapons?
Well, I don't know about the reliable weapons, but no, thank God they don't tend to be very well trained. So what I say is most of the time, not all the time, most of the time it's a punk that brought dad's gun to school, a punk that brought dad's gun to the mall. So because of that, there's several instances where a couple instances they couldn't make the first round come out of the gun, but in a lot of them, we see a lot of malfunctions because they don't know how to run the guns, and they have trouble with reload. So are they dangerous? Of course they're dangerous, but they're not Navy SEALs. They're not John Wick. They're not Jason Bourne. Okay. So they're an evil punk with a gun, but they're not that hard of opponent to go up against. And down there at the bottom is the most important thing, and that's math and time. What I find on average is they're going to shoot somebody about every 10 seconds. There's weird outliers. Columbine was exceedingly slow. Dayton and Tucson were extremely fast, but about 70 to 80% in the middle. They're going to come very close to an average of 1 every 10 seconds. So that's what I think has happened most often in the past. So if that's what's most likely to happen in the future, what is the best possible plan we could have in place to have a welcoming party for them when they start their next